mar. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Monday. Another weekend in the books. Got the show coming up in a second. First portion of the show brought to you part by Twice But Nice Retail Shop. It's where we get all the clothings for the youngins. The youngest one, anyway, for Josie. DMX Lawn and Landscape. Actually, they're coming out tomorrow to do a little trimming up on our lawn, just kind of like trash pickup, basically.
Well, you see, Colleen thought that she was Hercules and that she could pull out a bunch of bushes by herself.
Yeah, shouldn't have done that.
Turns out she can't.
No, also brought to you by Memorable Lights.
Pulling out of
All right,
bushes.
let's get the show started.
And now, our feature presentation.
This is Ed McMahon. And now, here's Andrew.
Andrew Z. I love that Andrew Z. I said Andrew Z. In the morning, it's time to wake up. Andrew Z. In the morning, yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. It's Monday, April 20th, 2020. Ooh, it's going to be a good one today, I have a feeling. Hope you had a great weekend. In the upper right-hand corner or left-hand corner, to the right of my right shoulder, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it. Denny Crum.
Yo,
There
yo.
you go. Jake Dickey over on the other side. And we got the two ladies on the bottom tonight, Colleen Z and Sugar Vermont.
Woo!
Oh, it is Monday.
Andrew Z. In the morning.
Woo! Chris Tiefel off tonight. Holly has a little earache, our producer, so she's off tonight as well. Got to say hi to James Krieger. He says, hello there, ladies. How many of you are not wearing pants? Who's not
That's
wearing...
me. No pants at all.
No pants for Sugar.
Just your dramatic wizard robe. That's all.
I don't have pants, but I have shorts on. Yes, Colleen?
I just don't think it's very nice of Holly to talk about Brittany like that and say that she's an earache.
Amy Fuhr says good evening. Hi, Amy. Ashley Dickey says hello, all, and good evening. Lisa Marie, hi, y'all. Hope everyone is well. Thank you. I think we are, Lisa Marie. We're going to find out here in a second anyway. Mama Judy is on the side. I love you.
Sandbagging.
Sandbagging. Kristen Fry, Angie Cole. Wow, Stephen Kempfer, Marissa.
Oh, hi, Stephen. Hello, pumpkin.
Whoa. Marissa Merritt says hello, Mama Judy. Monica McGee, Cheryl Nelson, all and Greg Kisner to start the show off, and many in a cast of thousands. I can't go through all of them. We never get through the show. Jake, what's going on with you?
Nothing, man. Like Chris must be really working hard if he feels like he needs a 3-day weekend because he's the only one with a job.
He figured he's the only one with a job, and he just needed some time to rest. He's tired of all of us loafers that aren't doing a damn thing. So,
I'm doing things.
you're doing things.
I look at Facebook a lot.
Here's what Colleen is doing. Colleen went out and bought another round of baskets. Colleen loves to she loves the idea of organizing, only to the point she loves buying all the stuff for organizing. She loves going out shopping for it, but as far as ever putting any of it into practical use, it never happens. Never happens. So we've got probably, whether you call them baskets, whether you call them bins, whether you call them totes, it doesn't matter what you call them. There probably about 150 of them in this house. 150 of these things.
That is extremely inaccurate.
You don't think you have 150 totes, baskets,
No.
something plastic with putting stuff in it? You don't
No.
think you have 150 of them?
No.
You have 10 just in the cabinets. You bought another probably 10 today. That's 20 before we even start.
20 baskets.
20 baskets. to the point where if she's almost like ahead of the game, like because of the COVID thing going on, like baskets are going to become currency, and she's going to be basket rich. That's what I think that she's going for right now. That's all I can think of. Or she's starting her new, or she's starting her new shop called Basket Case. which would be apropos. I'm not sure which, but either she's stocking them for currency because she never puts them all into use, but continues to buy them every time she thinks she's going to start organizing, which never happens.
My God, when do I start organizing and getting rid of the
Oh,
garbage?
jeez. Poor Colleen.
Well, at least you got stuff to carry the garbage out in.
You know, I'm just gonna say that we're supposed to
I recommend a dumpster.
we're gonna get a dumpster,
Yeah, to throw all the old baskets away for the ones that are replacing the old ones.
especially the basket case,
Perfect.
especially the basket case across the desk for me.
Get it.
So anyway, that's
Oh, jeez.
that's my life.
Lovers quarrel.
That's my life tonight. What's going on with you, Danny? How was your weekend?
It was fantastic.
What'd you do?
Yeah, we relaxed. Me and my fiance had a couple little kid-free date nights. And then Chris Steve was really going to hate me because I've been making a pretty decent amount of money being off, and I finally found an online poker site last night that I could play on. And I did pretty good last night. So yeah, it's if we never go back to work, I'm going to be okay. Like,
Yes.
Well,
Oh.
eventually,
Oh, hey. How you doing, Danny?
eventually they're going to stop paying you. I would assume if you never went back to work.
well, yeah, but I mean, if I can make what I made last night every night,
Damn. All right.
wouldn't need a job.
Let's see. James Krieger said we should call Colleen's place Tiskets or Taskets. Also, Aaron
Tiskets or taskets. Push it in baskets.
Yes, Aaron Christopherson is checking in. Heather Marie, Steve Sabo, one of my all-time faves, one of the best comedians in the 419, checking in as well. So what's going on with you, Jake Dickey? How was your weekend?
It wasn't too bad, man. Actually, I stopped up to work on Saturday night and helped out because that Porterhouse thing they did sold completely out. So they were actually the busiest takeout night they had since
so
shutdown.
You of course laid off from Benchmark, which is the restaurant over at Levis Commons, and they were doing what, $100 Giants 32-ounce steak special or something with all the sides and trimmings and.
Yep, you get a side, a salad for $2, and a bottle of wine for $100, and it was a high success.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations. What about you, Sugar? What'd you do this weekend?
Oh, I've been all over the place, Andrew. I can't even just. I've been all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel emotionally. I feel like I've just hallucinated the weekend. I don't know if it really happened. Like, I went to chair to couch to couch to chair. I went to get in my car to pick up some fries from the McDonald's, and I wasn't wearing pants. I like opened the door and then quickly shut it, and I was like, you know what would help with this trip? Pants.
Wow.
Like I'm just a mess. Like I feel like I'm devolving as a human.
No.
I don't know up or down. I don't know days of the week.
I really do need to, for sanity purpose, really do need to start getting back to doing something. Like we need, it's to the point now that's got to happen. And I know safety has to come first, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. There are some states that are pushing for it to happen. Go ahead, Denny Crum.
Am I the only one whose life has just gotten substantially better since all this has happened?
Dude,
I mean, because like, and obviously, like, I would much rather, I would trade normals for all these people's lives, so I'm not trying to throw that under the bus. But like, for my current situation, this past month and a half has been one of the best month and a half of my life. Like, it's been fantastic.
You know,
Dude,
Denny,
I can't right now.
Yeah.
do you know what boasting means?
Oh, I've also been selling a lot of sports memorabilia too.
Don't
making
be
money
a
that way.
boaster.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with that sentence.
No, I thought it was going to be heroin for sure.
Well,
I have watched Breaking Bad several times, so I think I could do it if I tried.
you know someone else.
You're an expert.
You know someone else who has had a good quarantine? Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I mean, first of all, because he's Dwayne.
Has
The
that
Rock
guy ever
Johnson.
had a bad day ever?
I know, right? I know, but apparently
WrestleMania 17, bad day.
Yeah, apparently he says that he has this quarantine has had a very positive effect on his marriage, and I can see that. You know, there has to be moments in your life where a reconnection has to happen, because when life happens, I mean, you get busy, you do with kids, you're doing whatever, and things, you start to separate, and it does take events. Like I'm going to give you an example. We were watching Ozark last night, and there was a point where Jason Bateman, I'm not going to give too much away, but Jason Bateman got kidnapped, and they thought, and his wife and him had not had a good marriage over the last couple of years, and they thought that he was dead. And when he came back, all of a sudden, dude, she realizes that, hey, so it took that, I think, that it's going to be a turning point for their marriage. But a lot of times it takes something like maybe a quarantine, your life all of a sudden stops. So, I mean, there are some people that it's probably better for. Go ahead, Colleen.
Prison sentence.
Denny Crumb.
Well, I'll say, especially a guy like The Rock, who's so busy. I mean, I don't see how that guy sleeps between his workout schedule, his eating schedule, on top of he's producing movies, he's making movies. I mean, like, producing TV shows. Like, that guy, he's unbelievable.
But I work out and eat. I mean, it doesn't.
Do you?
It doesn't make me busy.
You
Shut
work
up,
out?
Denny. I eat.
He works out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So
Yeah, because your physique and The Rock's are close.
Head size.
But I mean, I think he edges you out a little bit. Andrew.
maybe just a little bit. Just a
Yeah.
little bit.
I think you have an extra cheat day or two in your diet too.
Man, you mean one less cheat day, and we would be like the same?
Yeah, the same guy.
I'm gonna catch up. I'm not gonna cheat tomorrow. But that should be the name of my diet. It's called Tomorrow. The Tomorrow Diet. Go ahead, Jake Dickey. What's going on?
I feel like if you and The Rock were a tag team, you'd be like Rock and Roll, because one of you is a rock and one of you will roll.
Denny almost fell out of his chair.
Shut up, Denny.
Oh my God, I'm so glad.
I hate you, Dickie.
Denny, you remember the Rock and Roll Express?
Yes.
Complete opposite of that.
Yeah. not that at all.
The Rock and Roll Depressed.
Oh, wrestling jokes.
You gotta love them. All right, what's going on with you? Who do we get everybody in? Oh yeah, Colleen wanted to talk about something. Go ahead, Colleen.
Well, I have a couple topics that I want to talk about.
Okay.
First one is shared parenting.
Back.
Yeah, I thought you were frozen.
That bitch Carol Baskins is sabotaging my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you couldn't be that still and quiet for that long.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we haven't heard an F-bomb in 4 minutes. So.
I know we know her computer must have froze.
Rude.
So Denny,
Anybody got?
She was frozen. I was ready to let her go.
Denny, now,
Oh.
You stupid son of a bitch.
All right, go ahead, Colleen.
okay, so Denny, your fiance, you are not the father of the child.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, they haven't gone into more yet, so as far as he knows.
Well, because considering our kid is mixed, and her and I are both white,
okay.
I'm fairly certain I'm not the.
Okay.
So my question is, does he go to his dad's?
No.
Why are you in their business?
Well, because my kids go back and forth.
Well, we have his dad lives in Virginia though, so.
Okay. So my issue right now is my kids are calling their dad and lying. I mean, blatantly lying, or texting him and blatantly lying. I am the worst person and worst parent in the entire universe because they have a bedtime.
Yeah, they have to get up at a certain time. They
They have to take a shower. They have to
Hey,
eat.
There's rules.
They are officially on summer vacation now.
Colleen, are you trying to have a family fight during the podcast? Is that what's happening?
No, I'm just so like okay. So
They're upstairs.
so my
You're too loud. You're too loud. Let me tell it.
my twin, the one that looks just like me, she texts her dad and says,
You know they're probably watching on Facebook Live right now, right?
No. So
They're 13, 11. They don't do Facebook. If we were on Instagram,
But they do.
If we were TikToking this show,
yeah. So my 11-year-old lost my AirPod yesterday, and she texted her dad and said, I lost mommy's AirPod and they're yelling at me. Totally not what happened at all. I actually gave her a hug and a kiss. I said, it's okay. It's in the house somewhere. You know, it'll turn up. But this is what she had texted her dad. And both my kids yesterday texted their dad to come get them, but never said a word to me.
here's the problem. Here's one of the problems is if there's an adult that says something about my child, I'm going to assume that my child is lying or wrong. I mean, that's just the assumption. Like, oh my God, this teacher's picking on me. Oh, she's really. I'm like, dude, she hasn't been in this business 30 years, just waiting for you to come along to throw her career out the door so she can just.
You know what? This kid right here, F this kid.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to ruin this kid. So I always err on the side of the adult, unless there's some sort of evidence. But my first instinct is always to side with the adult. Well, Colleen's former other half is, as soon as the kid's word is what happened.
My little girl's not going to lie to me.
Right, and so they play their dad like that. So number one, if the parents over like we wouldn't even take a phone call about complaining about the other parents. Like, okay, whatever they said. But over there, everything they don't like, then they will contact the other side.
Or, my kids do call me when they're at their dad's, and I go, okay, and I hang up, and I call their dad.
Right. It's so frustrating when shared parenting and the parents aren't on the same page, even when they're at this house, and it is so. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to add. Like, I don't have kids. I don't want kids. I don't know how to solve your problem.
I know. It's just, but I mean, it is. It's a.
Well, I mean, like, me being stepdad. I mean, and I'm a little more of the disciplinarian than my fiance is. So like, there's times where I've had to get on Justy, and then he'll like run to his mom, and she'll just like he'll push her right over. Like anything that he wants, But
let me ask you this: so when he goes to her, and says, "Well, Denny was me," does she then say, "Denny, why'd you do that?" Or does she say, "Now I'm sure there was a like how does she? How does she
100%. Yeah,
does she have your back 100%?
Oh yeah. I mean, like there's sometimes where like she'll. If he's on punishment for something and I'm not around, she'll let him be off punishment while I'm not around. Like she'll do something like that. But like she doesn't like
does that all
yeah, like, oh my God, I can't stand that. But she doesn't do the like, oh, Denny's just being mean. She doesn't. She understands that I'm not just. I don't wake up in the morning like, oh, I'm just going to be a jerk to this kid for no reason. And she knows that.
Exactly.
The other problem is that Colleen is a reformed, believe everything her kids say. So like I had to have a come to Jesus with her. So now they don't like me because they know that if it wasn't for me, they'd be running all over their mother. Yeah, and I'm the only thing that stands between them and anarchy.
Yeah, Justy went through a phase like that where like I could just tell he couldn't stand me for a long time just because. Because I was the one that was being in the way. Yeah, and he would like look at his mom and be like, "Give me this," and I'd be like, "What? You don't just say give me that to your mom. You better."
And there's times where I tell Colleen, it's like we already have a strained relationship. So when you don't do your part and have some authority, then it strains the relationship between me and them. So you choosing to not take authority is really effing up me, but it just she just still.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I had to explain with Ashley, with my fiance. She, I would tell her like, yo, like he's on punishment, and when you let him off punishment when I'm not around, he thinks he's only in trouble because I'm here. He doesn't think that he's in trouble because of something that he did.
Yeah,
I was like, exactly. So I mean, you can't just. It's frustrating. I mean, I took his Fire Stick away one day, and I went to work, and I work nights, and so I got on Netflix and looked at where every show was at, and I get on Netflix later that night and saw that he was watching something, and then I asked her, I said, "You give his Fire Stick back last night?" No. All right, well, I told her, well, he's grounded from it for another week because he snuck and watched it without anybody knowing. You can't do that. And so you let him watch it, didn't you?
Yeah. That little sneaky one.
That's even more infuriating when they will be in cahoots against you because you're the only one that's disciplining. They don't realize how bad that is. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, I know I was that kid when I was a kid. I think my mom will attest to that. I knew I could get away with a little bit more with my mom than I could with my dad.
Oh, yeah.
And because my mom has always thought I was cute and adorable, she still does to this day.
Yes, I know she does.
My Dickie didn't murder anyone.
That's right.
Right?
Not my Dickie.
Yeah, but as soon as Dad got home, it was time to get your ass in order.
Right.
And I knew that.
Go ahead, Colin.
See,
Oh yeah. Wait till your father gets home.
Yeah.
see, mine was opposite. I could push my dad over with my pinky, and my mom was the holy grail coming down on you.
Yeah, I feel like it was the opposite for my sister. Actually, she could
I
get
think
away with
it's
a little
like
bit
that.
more than Dad.
I think it's like that with the opposite sexes is what they say is
Yeah.
boys
Yeah.
tend to be able to get whatever they want from their
There-
moms.
there
and
is
then-
something to that for
Yeah,
sure.
because she keeps saying like if we have a daughter, she's going to have you wrapped around her finger and you're going to give her whatever she wants. And I keep saying no, but I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. You want to ask Josie?
What?
Oh, please. Josie's got you completely wrapped.
She's not even 2 yet.
but she's still got you completely wrapped.
Well, that's not a good sign then.
She'd be like, Dada, Dada.
Oh, Jake, your mom Judy just said, I spanked you with a flip flop.
Yeah, that was her go-to when we were angry because it didn't hurt. But
But she could whoop you.
yeah, she could get her anger out in a safe way.
Flip flop. Huh?
Her.
Thanks, Thanks, Mama Judy. There, I'm gonna be using that one.
All right, so let's talk. Hold on, I'm gonna send something. Let's talk about the corona.
School returning.
That's not happening.
Yes. Yeah, we just found. So we'll start with that school. For the Rona update, there's a lot of stuff that I want to get to. Let's talk first. Mike DeWine announced today that school was not going to go back this year, and it was going to be out till at least July, and then they figure out where it goes from there. Kind of where we're at. I think that's There's no way. I mean, school. January 1st, let's say January 4th is a Monday. School's out January 21st anyway. Why 2
January?
weeks? Or I'm sorry, March 21st. April 20. No,
May.
May 21st.
Jesus, you went through like half of the calendar.
May 21st. Anyway, why take the chance?
Quarantine's gotten to him. He doesn't know what month, what
I
day,
know, I
what
really
year.
don't. I really don't. But why take the chance? If you're only gonna have a couple weeks left, go ahead, Jake.
I had the worst thought about this in the history of thoughts, and I know I'm going to make some people mad about this, but this was the
Yes.
thought that occurred to me. Was like, I feel bad that the seniors are probably not going to have like prom and graduation. But like, seriously, how many graduations these kids need? They had a kindergarten, a 6th grade, an 8th grade, a freshman. Like, hey, we only had one the entire time.
That's so true. I didn't even.
That's not true. I graduated from preschool.
Yeah, see, that's mine.
I was so smart I didn't go to preschool. What up?
Mine started at
skipped
preschool.
it.
Every time they switch schools, there's a graduation now. Go ahead, Sugar.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We didn't have that when we were kids.
No, that's true. Go ahead, Sugar.
So I work in a school, as you guys know, but it's not a typical school. It's a school for students with autism. And I've had so much stress over this lately. First, like, yes, I love not going to work and getting paid. That is a new thing that I adore. So let's keep that going. But like, on the other hand, I honestly am having anxiety about the kids at the school and how they're doing. It's a lot different for learners with disabilities than in like a regular public school.
I'm guessing you probably have a stronger bond because they need you.
Yeah.
They depend on you more than maybe kids without autism, I'm guessing. It might be some of it. Go ahead, Danny. What were you going to say?
I'm not going to change the subject too far, so don't like freak out. But they announced today that the World Series of Poker is actually going to be postponed. And I had a buddy call me and was like, "Yo, man, like, do you think they're shooting to try to have it sometime in the fall?" And he called me. He's like, "Yo, like, when do you think it's going to happen?" And I'm like, "Dude, like, I don't know. This thing's so hard to predict because now when you're starting to see places open up, when you see Florida just opened up their beaches." Like idiots, and then they saw the largest single day spike in their numbers. So I mean, this stuff isn't a coincidence. So we have to be careful about what we do when it comes to reopening the schools and stuff that we're talking about right now.
That's a lot of it too. Just not knowing what now these reopenings so soon are going to do. There really is no prediction. I mean, for how long it's going to last or anything. Go ahead, Colleen. What do you say?
Hey, Denny, can you write this number down?
Number
It's 1-800-522.
is this the gamblers?
$4,700.
I'm not calling that. I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem. Okay,
When my problem makes me money, it's a good problem to have.
I got some other Rona news. This one was kind of shocking to me. Ohio prisons now have the largest source of coronavirus infections in the U.S. Ohio prisons, the largest in the U.S. That's shocking to me.
And I can tell you exactly why. It's because Ohio prisons are testing every single
Right.
prisoner with a valid test. And I think that it's indicative of how widespread having corona actually is, that we have no idea. So they're testing every single person in this population, and suddenly, oh yeah, everybody's got it.
Well, there is a theory, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there is a theory that they're trying to slow walk the testing because they don't really want to know, because the president doesn't want to know how many people actually have it, and I guarantee it's a lot higher than we've never been in this position where we couldn't tell if someone had a virus or disease or an illness or whatever. Go ahead, Sugar. Or go ahead, Jake. Sorry.
You confused me. I was like, oh, let me think of something to say.
Oh no, go ahead, Jake.
I mean, are you really surprised that they're getting something into a prison that they don't want?
That's true. That is
Right?
true. Well, speaking of prison, this one's kind of sad to me, and I don't know what he did. We're going to find out together because I haven't read the story. I just read the headline. A Michigan inmate who had been in prison for 44 years died from the coronavirus.
Oh my God!
Weeks before his release, he was due
Yes,
to get out.
I saw.
He was due to get out on. He died on April 13th. William Garrison. He's 60. He was serving a life sentence for a fatal shooting that happened when he was 16 back in 1976. He had complained about symptoms, but a post-mortem test revealed he had the virus. He had been offered parole weeks before his death and was set to be released in early May. He was a month away from release, less than a month away from release, and he died of the
That's
Rona.
some mixed emotions right there.
I know. Well, when you're 16, I mean, obviously, if I trust the parole board, he must have shown some sort of remorse, and he just had it. God, man, he couldn't get out for just to enjoy one day and then die. I mean, it's wow.
I mean, to be fair, he was sentenced to life.
What's that, Jake?
He was sentenced to life. To be fair,
That's true.
And Andrew, don't back the parole board just because they happen to be nice to you.
They weren't nice to me.
They weren't.
How dare you?
I have a difference.
at all.
Go ahead, Colleen.
I have a difference in opinion. So my brother was actually murdered, and his killer is in an Ohio prison. And is it wrong that I kind of hope he gets it?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm
get
not
where
going to
you're
say
coming
it's
from.
wrong.
I know,
I'm not
exactly.
but I'm going to say I understand.
Right, exactly. So
I've
go ahead, Sugar.
I was just gonna say I've wished a lot of people dead for a lot less.
Right. Okay, so we've kind of alluded to it earlier on in the show, but there are some states that are going to be opening for business. Some by this Friday. Georgia is one of those states, and they're all red states, and they're all with Republican governors. And here is the Georgia's governor talking about opening back up.
We will allow gyms, fitness centers.
First of all, and I haven't heard this clip yet, and I don't want to be mean, but why do I think that every governor that's opening up sounds like this? I don't know what it is. This is what I expect him to sound like. You know, we're gonna open them gyms, and we're gonna open the food places because you got to get your food
Now
because we're America.
Listen, y'all, I need them food places open. I'm hungry.
We will allow gyms, fitness centers, bowling alleys, body art studios,
Oh God,
barbers.
dude.
Aren't gyms and fitness centers the same thing?
I don't know. Yeah, pretty much. This guy. So why a tattoo artist? You have to get tattoo. Is anyone really? Even if you got a free tattoo, would you go get a tattoo right now?
Nope.
What are you talking about, guy?
Cosmetologists, hair designers, nail care artists, estheticians.
I think I mean estheticians, but whichever.
Estheticians,
oh Jesus!
Estheticians.
their respective schools, and massage therapists to reopen their doors this
Oh.
Friday.
That's why.
Because
Happy ending?
because I
$20.
haven't- Because I haven't had a happy ending in weeks. I've been quarantined with my wife.
Yeah.
April the 24th.
So
Unlike
that's like this Friday. So this Friday he's open. George is open for business.
other businesses, these entities have been unable to manage inventory, deal with payroll, and take care of administrative items while we shelter in place.
So what he's saying is, if you were allowed to make payroll and then you can stay closed, but if not, then it's okay to risk the health of the state because you can't pay your people. I mean, it's not even a health reason. It seems like an odd reason to open up because you can't. I don't know. Go ahead, Sugar.
Well, it's an entire hot mess because what we are literally seeing happen is the government placing capitalism before human lives.
Right.
It's more important that these businesses cover their bottom line and don't have to close and reopen to something else or whatever. It's more important that the money keeps flowing than lives, and it's pissing me off.
Can you imagine? So let's say take Georgia for example, or whatever. There's like 3 states opening up. They've all got Republican governors. They're all red states. They're all Trump backers or whatever. But imagine being a blue person, a blue state, a Democrat or an independent, stuck in one of those states where everyone around you is just crazy, and everyone's like, "Open up!" Because he's obviously getting pressure to open up from his constituents, from his businesses. It's the guys that are protesting this weekend. Open up. So but can you imagine having to be stuck in one of those states where you're like, everyone around me is crazy and they're going to kill me, and all I can do is sit here because I'm in the minority. There's nothing that I can do to fix this problem. It's got to be so frustrating. Go ahead, Sugar.
Well, I was just going to kind of correct you and just reify that stupidity is not partisan. I know a lot of dumb Democrats too. Come on now.
I agree. Good for you. No, it's true. But and the weird thing is too, the states that they were protesting in this weekend to open up are states that are actually following the guidelines of the president. The president has set out guidelines. It's like you can't have any cases. You have to be on the downswing, and you have to wait 14 days if you've had cases recently or whatever. So these states are following the guidelines, but they're protesting to open now, even though this is their president, because they all have Trump stickers. They all got Trump flags and stuff. So it's like it's your own president that's giving these guidelines. You're going against them, but then Trump's saying, "Well, they're doing great things." Because Trump is president, and there's Democrats, Republicans, and Trumpers are just in a whole different category. And there's times where they get the wires crossed because they don't, because of the weird allegiance to Donald. It's just an odd thing. Anyway, so those places are going to be Georgia's going to be open. A couple other states as well are going to be opening. And go ahead, Connie.
So it's not about opening, but I know these 3 people on the screen got their stimulus.
Yeah.
And that just left me and you.
Yeah, we're the only 2.
But I talked to the bank today.
What'd they say?
It's pending in our account. But
Nice.
since your name appears first on the tax return and it's going into my account, I have to add him.
Good.
And I can't take him off.
Yeah, and you can't take. That means you can't take all the money. Good. You didn't tell me it was pending. I was stressing out. God, were you saving it for the air? That's one you don't save for the air. You tell me that. You've been waiting for that money for weeks.
It'll be in the bank tomorrow.
Oh my God! Thank Lord. And then Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson. They of course they were the first celebrities that came out with the coronavirus, and they're talking about.
Not if you talk to conspiracy theorists.
What do you? Oh, they didn't have.
Remember the conspiracy theory was Tom Hanks was arrested for pedophilia.
Right, and then showed back up though. But now
And Oprah.
So Tom Hanks is 63. He said they kind of talked about what it was like with the virus. He said some body aches and was very fatigued. He said during his medical isolation, his wife also had it. Of course, he said she had more serious symptoms. Rita went through a tougher time than I did. She had a much higher fever and she had some other symptoms. She lost her sense of taste and smell. She got absolutely no joy from food or for a better part of 3 weeks. She was so nauseous she had to crawl on the floor from the bed to the facilities, and it lasted a while. He said, I was wiped after 12 minutes, had to lay down in my hospital bed and just slept. I said, I just had the weirdest thing. I just tried to do basic stretches and exercises on the floor. I couldn't even get halfway through those. He said, you've got COVID-19 is what they told him. So very interesting. He was, by the way, filming a movie about Elvis in Australia when he got the Rona. Go ahead, Sugar.
Well, I just think that's actually kind of scary because I have the exact same symptoms as Tom Hanks. I have body aches, extreme fatigue. I'm pretty sure it's my obesity, but I can't be sure.
All right, this portion of the show brought to you apart by Lip Sense, Colleen. Lip Sense.
I'm wearing a neutral red today, and it's my new favorite color.
It looks really good on you.
And it doesn't come off. So I was pulling bushes out by the roots today, and my makeup still looks this good.
And what's the name of your Lip Sense rep?
So she runs Gloss and Glam by Julie Ann.
Okay, if you need to get some makeup, get a hold of Colleen. Also, Glick Electrical Services is one of our sponsors as well. If you need any electrical work done, check with them. All right. So, and
Andrew.
Yes.
And where did you also participate in the pulling of the bushes, or did you watch Colleen pull the bushes?
I had to work.
You got the.
You
You're just a voyeur in the pulling of the bushes.
I was just a voyeur, but you got to remember, I do have a daytime job.
Clicky, 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 clicky.
Here's the thing: when she gets mad at me, when she's out doing that, and she gets pissed, and she's like, "Well, you don't have a real job. You just answer phones." I'm like, "Okay, well, you want to take a couple shifts? They got some open." No, I don't want to do that. I couldn't do that. All right, well, don't complain about what I do, and then dismiss it like it's no big deal, and then admit that you wouldn't do it.
But I wouldn't do it because I don't like people.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to play the song by our good friend Lucas Guy. Now, if you're a regular to the show, you know Lucas Guy, and
He's a biscuit.
Mm-hmm. He is a biscuit that needs to be sopped up with some gravy right there. He's got his new album that came out today. So wherever you buy your music from, Lucas Guy is got a new album coming out. This song is not on it, but he played it for the first time in public for us. It's called Quarantine. If you go to the Lucas Guy Facebook page, you can see he's actually put together a music video for this song. And God, this song is so catchy to me. He wrote it about being in quarantine, the situation that we're in right now. His new album is out, and here is Quarantine by Lucas Guy.
Here I dream, isolated, and all I want is you. Here with me, all entangled, spilling light to see where this stream flows. Quarantine with me forever, never seems so beautiful. Lock yourself with me, and we can fill these walls with magic tones and quarantine love songs. Here we lay while worlds are dying, writing love songs with happy endings, and still we play though death is roaming. What's these little things that keep us living? Champagne as we both dive in. Quarantined with you leaves time afraid to move, and I just might stay here. Run away with you forever, never say so briefly. Quarantine.
Quarantine Luke Scott. I apologize, you guys. I could have either dumped out of that because of the poor quality. It was my fault. It was operator error. I thought I recorded good, but obviously it was a little bit overmodulated, which I apologize for. Hopefully you still realize the song is still amazing, and if you want to hear it in its pristine form, then go to the Lucas Guy Facebook page and get it. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. We are back. It's Andrew Z in the morning. Second half of the show, it's At Night, the podcast. Thank you for making us the #1 podcast in all of Toledo. This portion of the show brought to you in part by our friends at Lufka, all natural. Lufka, they're great. They make soaps with like charcoal in them. There's like fancy homemade soaps, and they make sanitizers and lotions and all kinds of stuff. So we're looking forward to when they open to seeing more of it. The store is really cute. Country Charm Shops in Perrysburg. Also brought to you by Extreme Class Limousine, our friend Guy, who is now Grocery Guy as well. He's doing anything he can to stay afloat during this time, being a small business owner. He'll get groceries for you. He'll do whatever you need that's legal. He won't run your drugs for you, but he will run your groceries or do errands or anything like that.
And my mom and my sister have both used him and speak highly, very highly of him. And my sister is undergoing chemotherapy, so for her to think highly of somebody's awesome.
Yeah, and he really takes all the precautions to make sure that you don't get the Rona. So there you go. All right, we are back for the second half of the show. Let's see. Oh, we got a special guest coming up here in a second. So we got a couple minutes before that we can talk. I just want to say thank you guys for downloading the show, but also if you're watching the show rather. But if you can, download the podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Whether it's if you miss any of it, that way you don't have to. It doesn't come with video, but it's a podcast. But it's really good. It helps us. As far as numbers wise, if you download it, subscribe to it, wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iHeart or radio, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever, check the show out, and it will be very helpful and very much appreciated. Well, you look good tonight there, Sugar. I don't know what's going on with your makeup today.
I know, it's flawless.
Yeah, you're glowing. You're glowing tonight.
Thank you. I was doing it, and sometimes while you're doing your makeup, you're like, "Oh, come on, honey, get out the paint spackle and get this together." But no, I did it. My eyebrows were matching on the first try. I was feeling good about it. Like, you want your eyebrows to be like twin sisters, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are distant cousins.
Go ahead, Jake.
Well, if I remember correctly, didn't I read something over the weekend where you broke quarantine? And maybe that's the reason you're glowing?
Shit.
Sugar, wow, you just got
How
thrown under the bus.
dare you? How dare? Okay, fine. So what happened was,
Remember.
I can't say suck dick behind a dumpster. I'm not gonna do it.
Sugar, you've never gotten through one show without swearing.
I didn't use the F-bomb. It's fine. Or did I?
We've only got 15 minutes left, so still got 15 minutes left.
Okay. So, so anyways, yes, I couldn't anymore. I couldn't deal with it. I was losing my mind. I was hallucinating. I needed the D, and I needed it bad.
Oh my God, that's the worst way to get corona. What are you talking about right now?
Best way to get corona. Are you kidding me?
Some rando?
No. I went through my Rolodex of dick. And I called up an ex and I was like, "Hey, honey,
yeah, I know, but doesn't matter." But
did you go through your Holodex?
You went through your Holodex?
Could have been.
I feel like instead of a Rolodex, it's a Rolodex.
I know it is.
Oh, the thing.
Went through her Rolodex. God, Sugar, that is the worst. By the way, if you're watching, we do not condone that. That is the worst thing that you can do. I mean,
that's
Get on?
easy for you and me to say, Andrew. Like our sexual partner is underneath the same roof.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, ladies, if you're bored. Hey, I'm home alone, and I feel fine. I might be asymptomatic.
It's just one-on-one. It's not like I was doing a bukkake sing. Jesus.
Stop!
Oh my God.
God, Denny, go ahead.
I was gonna ask Jake, like, Sugar was jonesing, like, how are you doing with all this?
Yeah.
Are you? Is the Pornhub Premium keeping you busy? Or?
Do you also need dick?
His mother is listening. Sugar, will you stop?
Hey, listen.
Just say bacon on the side.
Listen, it's in my last name. I'm good.
You got plenty.
Oh, man.
But no, actually, I'm fine. Honestly, like it's been so long since I've had like a sustained real relationship that I've just gotten used to this, and I'm this close to being a monk, so it's fine.
Well, Sugar, again, we don't condone. It's not that the act is the worst way, but hanging around someone within 6 feet that you haven't been around in a month, you don't know what the hell they've been doing as far as hanging around people. And I mean, that's the worst. It's the worst. You're being chastised right now as wrong. All right.
Could have at least set up a
froze.
glory hole.
She froze.
All right, we have a special guest right now. Sean Nestor is on with us. Sean is a grassroots organizer in Toledo whose focus is on promoting democracy and citizen empowerment as a solution to social problems. He's worked on local issues concerning drug policy reform, promotion of urban agriculture, and the protection of Lake Erie. He's currently
Oh, there goes my Wi-Fi.
He's currently working to preserve local history by restoring the Toledo Free Press's website with all content from its 10-year run. And you talk about concerning drug policy reform. Obviously, I can take one look at him and I can tell him it's policy reform in you should be allowed to smoke the weed. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me on.
Am I right?
Yeah, well, drug policy reform is kind of like the diplomatic way of saying, I was involved with the sensible marijuana ordinance that decriminalized marijuana.
Of course.
15. But when you put that in a bio, you don't just say, we freed the weed. Hit me up. It's a little more.
Now, here's the thing: if you had a haircut and you had maybe a suit jacket on, then I know that it would be the other side of drug reform. Go ahead, Danny.
I'm sorry to kind of break this up, but we just got some kind of major breaking news here. I just got a CNN alert. The U.S. is monitoring intelligence that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in grave danger after surgery.
No,
that's according to a U.S. official. So I feel like that was pretty big. I didn't mean to bring the segment to a halt, but I didn't think that should have played.
No, I'm glad you. I'm glad you. That's very big news. Go ahead, Sean. What are you gonna say?
And on 420,
Okay.
Well, it's a perfect day to have you on.
He's just baked.
No, let me ask you a question, Sean. What about those people that say that? Like, I know people that are potheads. I've been around pot my whole life, and I know for a fact that they are less motivated. Is a general rule. Now, that's not all of them. So I don't want my kids smoking pot. Like, I would want her to come to me and say,
honey,
I smoke pot. Where am I wrong, Sean? And I'm not against it, but I'm asking, playing more devil's advocate, I guess.
Well, I think it's important to know that when we talk about stuff like marijuana decriminalization, you're not wrong, because, Andrew, what you do in your family is your business. Mm-hmm. The only question with marijuana decriminalization laws is, does the state need to be intervening? Do we need to be arresting people and putting them in jail or prison over this? That's the only question that we're trying to address when we talk about drug policy reform. We're not trying to say it's good for people, it's bad for people. We're not trying to go out and tell you how you should interact with it, with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. That's entirely up to you, and that's the way it should be.
You've answered that question perfectly. And I 100% agree with you, actually, because, you'd have to pull an extreme case as to why your marijuana smoking is going to hurt me. So that right there, you do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do, and let's live together, because 99.9% chance anything you do that has to do with marijuana is not going to affect me one bit. Would you, right? I mean, that's
right.
Bottom line.
And I think we got to look at things like how, there's some interesting statistics out there about how we've got more people in jail and prison in America than any other. And that's like per capita. That's pure value. We lock people up over nothing. And, listening earlier when we talk about how that's impacting things during this pandemic, and we talk about how, and I think it was a good point that, they're testing and you got to look in that. But the reality is, if you're in jail, you can't avoid people. This stuff is going to grow.
Right.
Why do we lock so many people up over nonviolent offenses?
I know.
That's a big question that we've got to tackle. And I think starting with things like marijuana, which, regardless of what you think about the personal side of it, should people be locked up over it is the real question. And I think most people are going to say, I don't think it warrants that. We can deal with it in other ways, and we can embrace it or put boundaries on it in other ways, but we shouldn't be putting people in jail over it. We got to reduce our jail population.
I agree, man. Go ahead, Danny. What were you going to say?
To his point, I brought up this statistic the other night. America is 5% of the world's population. We are 25% of the world's prison population.
Yes.
And to his point too, a lot of it is racial. It's one of the things. It's a way to feed the prison industrial complex. We talked about the other day when I said prison is not designed to reform you; it's designed to keep you coming back because they need you. You're a person.
Especially these for-profit prisons are just are one of the worst things that we could ever have done.
Yeah, and so the fact is that they want to get you locked up for a nonviolent offense and get you in there and keep you coming back because it's good for their business. It's all about the bottom line, and it's messed up.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, those are excellent points. I just want to add that, speaking topically about what's going on in Toledo, you guys may have caught this, but over the weekend, the Community Solidarity Response Network, which is like the local Black Lives Matter group, they know about the connection between jail and prison, and particularly in this pandemic and racial issues. They organized a motorcade around the jail downtown, and I guess people in jail were looking out the windows and honking and trying to say thank you for recognizing that we're in danger here. So there's some activism going on locally around that, and I think that's pretty cool.
Sean Nestor is on with us. Let's take a really hard turn, but another topic that I think is important that I've been following for the last few years, especially since the algae problem that we had a few years ago, and you talk about the protection of Lake Erie. We are ruining our natural resources, and that's, you could call it a tree hugger issue. It's not. It's hey, if you care about your damn kids and your grandkids, and I mean, we have to protect this planet, and you can't tell me that this green crap is not affecting us at all. I mean, it is. Go ahead, Shawnee. I mean, you know more than I do.
Well, and my involvement with this is with something that made some big headlines, which is the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, and all of us who got together to work on that issue were kind of coming from the same point of view, which is like, look, we're a little more real than I think a lot of people are about where politics are in this country. It's all about the money. And the money, and there's a lot of people with very sentimental ideas about environmental law and the legal system. And we just said, you know what? The reality is, at best, our environmental laws regulate environmentalists more than they regulate polluters of whatever, be it the water, the air, you name it. So we came up with this really radical, well, we didn't come up with it. We took inspiration from some other things. We passed the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. And that was, of course, the big money came in, took us to court. That's currently in appeals right now. That could end up being a landmark case in American history. And I'm just really proud that we were able to help grow that here in Toledo, to take that really radical step and say, you know what, we've got to take a new approach to environmental law that's not just, having a bunch of hearings and maybe somebody will do something, but probably not. Trying to really go to that route of Lake Erie should have legal rights, not just be property, but actually have rights under the law.
Well, I remember there's a segment on the Daily Show that made fun of where you guys presented it as a person, that Lake Erie was a person kind of, because they should have person rights. But
right.
Here's the problem, and this is a really overview of the whole issue. The problem is when our parents were growing up, corporations had consciences. They would take care of the environment. They would give people pensions. There was important. And then there came a point where the stockholders, for some reason, became the most important thing in these businesses, and you could do anything you wanted to do as long as it was under the guise of I'm making more money for the company and becoming more profitable. And then people became expendable. The morals became it just all morals, the environment, it just all didn't matter as long as you were making more profit. And those are the people with the money, so now they can influence the politicians, and it's been this vicious cycle that no one really wants to talk about. But other than now, there's a new wave of companies coming in, like a Google or something like that, where they do take care of they have a purpose, they have a conscience, companies with a conscience, but there's still those old companies, the blue chip companies, that now just don't care about people, don't care about their employees, don't care about the environment, and it's all about making money, and it's destroying this planet. Go ahead, Sean.
I'll give you a second take on that. And as always, I'm going to tie it back a little bit to Toledo history, because there's so much more to Toledo and our history than people realize. But I'll say this, the companies like Google may treat their employees well, but I don't think they treat their customers very well, especially when it comes to privacy. That being said, I love a lot of the free Google products, so I'm going to admit that. But I'll say this. I think it's true that companies used to do a lot more for their employees back probably in the 60s and 70s, because we had a strong labor movement and all that stuff. I think if you go back, in the late 1800s, what were the labor laws like? I mean, this is a long-standing problem. It's not necessarily new that you got these ruthless corporations. It's all the robber barons, the Rockefellers, and so on. You go back to the late 1800s. And during that time, and tying it back to the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, the whole idea of giving the lake personhood is kind of a direct response to the idea of corporate personhood, where there's this, and this is standard law now, that corporations are people. That's why it can be corporation versus Joe Smith in court. We're trying to make it so it can be Lake Erie versus polluter in court. But all of that, a lot of people don't know this, but the very first idea for corporate personhood came from a guy who was on the Supreme Court, and his name was Morrison Waite. Does that last name sound familiar?
Wow, from Waite High School. They named Waite High School after him.
Yeah, the guy that Morrison Waite was a attorney for like the big railroads, who were like the ruthless Googles of their time, and he was a big time, big shot lawyer for the railroads. Got on the Supreme Court in the height of that whole peak of the railroad and the big robber baron era, and he actually took a really weird interpretation of the 14th Amendment. If anybody remembers that one, the 14th Amendment was passed after the Civil War. And it was supposed to say that anybody who was born on American soil is a citizen. And that was the way to take everybody who was previously seen as not a human being and give them rights under the law. He had this weird interpretation. He's like, nah, you guys got it all wrong. That is actually supposed to be corporations are also people, and people bought it, if you can believe it. Like, there's this really twisted thing where this aristocratic attorney from Toledo, Morrison Waite, went out there and grossly misinterpreted the 14th Amendment to create the idea of corporate personhood that, 100 years later or so, 120 years later, we're out here saying, well, let's take a spin on that and give Lake Erie rights. I know that's a lot of stuff right there. But
no, it was super interesting, and the way you tied it into Toledo also made it interesting. It's just there are a lot of issues that are bigger than us, and man, it's just there's so much. Go, Denny, were you going to say something?
Earlier you said the corporations influence the politicians, and I just want let's just call it what it is. It's bribery. The corporations bribe the politicians. They buy them, and that was one of the things that I think a lot. One of the things about Bernie Sanders' message that I felt like resonated with a lot of people was he wants to get big money out of politics. And I've said that if we do that one thing, if we get money out of politics, almost all of our other issues will be solved a lot quicker than they will if we don't get money. And it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, right or left. You get big money out of special interests. You'll get big money out of corporations.
The problem is it's chicken and the egg, Denny, because all the people with all the money have the power. So they're not trying to be overthrown by any means. And it's sad. I always said that every candidate should have the exact same amount of money, and because the airwaves are owned by the government, that the FCC, everyone, so in return for your license, the TV stations have to, or radio stations, or anyone with an FCC license has to give equal amount of money to each one. And it's got to be as a donation in kind for your license. So $10 million, you get $10 million, Joe Biden, and you get $10 million, Donald Trump, and you guys get to do with the exact same amount of money and then get your message out. So someone can't be swamped. And really, that hurts the Democrats right now because Bloomberg's got all this money that he's going to be able to pour into the Joe Biden campaign. I don't care. I don't care who it hurts. It should be
it doesn't
equal.
matter.
It should be equal on both sides. That otherwise it's just not fair. It's ridiculous. Go ahead, Jake Dickey.
Well, this whole situation just reminds me of that line from George Carlin where he's like, "It's an exclusive club, and we're not members."
We are definitely not members. Well, I'm gonna let you talk in just a second, Sean. I just want to say one other thing. Is now too, and it costs so much money to run for office that these politicians are spending every single moment of the time in office raising money. So that's why the people with money get their ear and then get their issues passed. It's really screwed up right now. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, yeah, and I just want to say one of the laws I helped to pass was something called Democracy Day, which we passed by ballot initiative in 2016 or 17. Mm-hmm. And every year in March, the city of Toledo now has to have a public hearing on this exact issue where the people, anybody who shows up gets to talk to city council and the mayor about their concerns over how money is corrupting politics. So check that out. Every March, city council has a public hearing called Democracy Day. We were going to have it this year, and then coronavirus hit, and it's like, maybe that'll get rescheduled. It is a legal requirement at this point. But I just want to finish by saying that, it's true. The politicians are owned by all these people who want to be able to buy politicians. Mm-hmm. So the old adage is true that the answer to organized money is organized people. We got to do better coming together as citizens and people who care, putting aside as many differences as we can to create groups and just go out there and push and fight and stand up for what we know everybody needs right now.
Well, and the last thing before we go is, you know what surprised me by the Mueller investigation, which was the Russia investigation that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians, and it doesn't matter how you feel about that, witch hunt, whatever it was. It showed what a small amount of money it takes to corrupt politics, because they weren't doing it with billions of dollars. They were doing it with 25,000 here, 50,000 this politician, 100,000 this politician. Look the other way. It's really someone with billions of dollars can really do some underhanded things with just not even a big amount of money, which surprised the crap out of me, I think, from all that. Final thoughts, anybody, before we go? Final thoughts? We lost Sugar.
Yeah, the internet messing up.
Yeah, all right. Well, you guys, and Sean, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
You're awesome.
It was a great conversation, man. I appreciate
it. You're doing great things, man. Please keep it up.
If someone wants to find you, they can find you on Facebook, Sean, SCAN, Nestor, Nestor.
Correct. And I just want to say thanks so much for having me. It's a difficult time right now, but what you guys are doing, trying to get together, give people company that don't have it, and just reporting on what's going on, that's so needed right now. So thank you all for putting the show on every day. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll be crossing paths, I'm sure.
You're a great guest. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Sean. Sean Nestor, he was awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you watching today. A little serious today, but a lot of times it happens on Mondays. Everyone's coming out of the weekend, and
I was having fun.
I like that guy. He was very interesting.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Very interesting. All right, Denny Crum, thank you so much. Jake Dickey, thank you so much. Colleen Z, thank you so much. Sugar Vermont as well. Of course, the show brought to you in part by DMX Lawn and Landscape. You guys have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Bye-bye, everybody.